I'm leaning more towards the States. My parents are leaning more to SFU.
96 is going to be a problem for men and women on the basketball side.
It smells like a locker room in here, Barry.
Hate to break it to you, Allison, but I left my socks in my locker since the opening episode.
Oh, thought they were yours.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Score. I'm Barry McDonald.
And I'm Allison Griffiths. Now, everyone's into hockey these days, but us, we're into basketball. Tonight on the show, we'll have an interview with the most powerful team in the country.
Also, a look at the dilemma facing BC's most talented high school student athletes, to go or not to go with regards to furthering their education.
And coming up next week, of course, the Vancouver franchise is hoping for the official stamp of approval from the NBA. And I think a lot of people are hoping, with the NBA coming to Canada, there's going to be a whole lot more Canadians going to the NBA.
Yes, Allison, the NBA is not exactly import-friendly. You know, such well-known basketball powers, Zaire, Trinidad, Panama, Nigeria, Egypt, and Holland, they've all contributed single players to the NBA.
Actually, Germany has the most, 3 active players.
2 Canadians currently in the NBA, Rick Fox with the Boston Celtics.
And of course, Bill Wennington in Chicago. Later in the show, we'll have a Canadian who's actually drafted by the NBA and one who played in the NBA.
That's right. We'll have more in The Score after the break.
Cliff here with my brother Biff, the good-looking one. Right. Only way Mom could tell us apart was I like dinner at dinner time. Yeah, and I like breakfast at dinner time. So when we have dinner at IHOP, I can get a great T-bone steak. And I can have fruity country griddle cakes or steak and eggs. Dinner for dinner. Or breakfast for dinner. Good thing we weren't triplets, huh, Cliff? Yeah, one of us might want breakfast for lunch. Ooh, yeah.
Hamburger Club, now just $5.49.
The problem with using BC Telephone for overseas calls is the out-of-reach rates. But now there's Unitel Overseas, the new plan that can shrink the cost of overseas calling by 28%. That's 28% savings to the number you call most often. Guaranteed. It also lets you earn an entire month of overseas calls for absolutely nothing. So call and ask about guaranteed savings and a free month with Unitel Overseas.
Enter this fabulous home and simply fall in love. Cathedral ceiling with exposed beams, majestic dining room and ultra-modern kitchen with walkout to landscape backyard. The master bedroom features huge closets and your own private jacuzzi. Central air and heat keep this palatial beauty comfy all year long. Your dream house is ideally located and looks out onto a fabulous ravine. Hurry, this one won't last.
Only one real estate agent goes farther than far, strives harder than hard, and reaches higher than high. Because only Royal LePage's dedicated full-time real estate professionals believe there's one direction to aim: higher.
I won every BC championship from 1977 to 1984 in my sport. I capped my career at the Los Angeles Olympics with a gold medal. It was the first time my sport was an official medal event at the Olympics. Find out who I am later on The Score.
One more hint?
Well, okay, she married a pretty well-known BC basketball player.
That's right. Attended UBC, could have gone to UCLA. You know, there was a time that if you got an offer to go to the likes of a UCLA, you went if you were a Canadian kid.
That's right. You were across the 49th before the ink had even dried on your letter of intent. Still, it's a pretty big decision, but students today are a little more careful about grabbing those offers from the South.
To go or not to go? That is the question for a select few Canadian high school student athletes. To go the American university route in pursuit of academics and athletics, or to try the Canadian way. Different strokes, for different folks. Valerie Turner is a grade 12 student at Steveston High School, looking towards furthering her academic and athletic interests at a university in either North Carolina or Florida. Which way do you think you're leaning?
I think I'm leaning more towards the States, more towards North Carolina and stuff. That probably where I'm leaning. My parents are leaning more to SFU, so there's kind of a conflict around our house when it comes to where I'm going next year.
I'm deciding between Kentucky and Waterloo right now, but probably Waterloo seems a better choice for me right now.
Why is that?
Well, education-wise, it's a lot better. They have higher standards.
Dennis Peeman is about to graduate from MEI in Clearbrook. He's an excellent soccer player and student. He's considering a half scholarship worth $7,000 per year to attend a university in Kentucky. His other option, pay the full fare, $9,000 to attend Waterloo in Ontario. John Dumont is 1 year older than both Valerie Turner and Chris Peeman. A year ago at this time, he was hoping his basketball skills would land him at a U.S. school. They did. He began his freshman year at tiny Carroll College in Helena, Montana last September. He lasted 5 months, returning home to Vancouver in January.
And they were kind of like, who is this guy? We don't know, where is he coming from? They don't play basketball up in Canada. Like, why is he coming down here? This is our little town and stuff. So I think right away they felt a little threatened by me. We'd be sitting around sometimes, and they'd just be joking. And it's John, like, why are you down here? Stuff like that. That John, if you leave the team, we all get more money for our scholarships. And, I was just like, oh, geez, I wasn't part of the team at all. It got to be too much. So I said, it's not worth it.
For John Dumont, the American dream was a nightmare. He is currently taking correspondence courses and will attend classes and play basketball this fall at UBC.
And I think part of the delusion is that though there are over, about 240 Division I schools in the States who play Division I basketball, there really are only about 50 to 60 of those that have a very, very solid financial base and that are what you would call big-time schools. Canadian kids who go to the States, they may be up there waving the towel, cheering for their team as they cut down the nets, but very often they're not going to be of the caliber that's going to be the real tight pressure player at the end of the situation.
SFU women's coach Allison McNeil played university basketball at Laurentian in Ontario before transferring to the University of Oregon. McNeil knows the big U.S. schools have plenty to offer.
When I was at Laurentian, we had the top team in Canada. We won 2 CAU championships, and we had, I think at that time, 5 players that were involved in the national program, and we were lucky to get 100 people out to our games, even big games, even games where it was another good team was coming out, University of Toronto or something. Couldn't get anyone out. When I went to Oregon, and when we played Oregon State, we'd get 5,000, 6,000 people out, and that's exciting. And I enjoyed being appreciated for the hard work that I did.
Good position, nice pass in there, fellas.
In what instances should a Canadian kid go south of the border for athletics and academics?
I think Canadian kids should go to the south of the border if he is extremely talented. If he's good enough to play at the top level, then I can tell you right now that the competition at that level is not available here. If he is not extremely talented, or if he has very, very average grades, in which case he wouldn't be able to get into most Canadian universities. In those 2 cases, I think going south is probably a pretty good idea for many of these kids.
Knowing now what you didn't know then, what might you tell grade 12 students here in BC that are in a similar position to you?
I'd say be careful. Find out as much as you can about the school. Get your high school coach to check it out. Talk to him on the phone and stuff. Just get everything out on the table. Just so when you're down there, you're by yourself when you're down there. You don't have all those people around you can go to and stuff. So when you're down there, you're on your own. So make sure you find out as much as you can.
Barry, I think it's really tough for student athletes these days. Their sports are demanding more, the universities are demanding a whole lot more. A lot of them have to go south because they just can't get into Canadian schools.
Allison, you'll get no argument at all from Bruce Enns. He thinks the universities in BC are asking way too much of their student athletes. He and a few other coaches, they're pushing for changes.
Now, it's basketball playoff season starting, so that means 'tis the season for alibis and foul excuses.
Here's my all-time favorite, Allison. How about the college basketball player who was in a slump? I sight down my nose to shoot, and now my nose isn't straight since I broke it. That's why my shooting's been off.
Good thing Tim Hunter's not a basketball player. Here's my favorite. I'm trying to do too much, and I'm thinking too much, and I'm thinking about trying to do too much.
Now we want you to do some thinking. Send us your best excuses for missing an episode of The Score.
Like the Queen asked you to tea.
Like Michael Jordan asked you to pitch batting practice.
And here's what you could win: a great CBC t-shirt or a great CBC hat.
Send us your excuses. There's the address. We'll give it to you again later in the show. And we'll have more on The Score after the break.
As president, I'm always trying to bring you the lowest possible prices. This time of year, I really go out of my way. This week, I'm offering you a spectacular price on flats of fresh strawberries. There's just no end to the things you can do with them. So if you want strawberries, drop by Save-On. You won't have to go nearly as far as I have. Nobody offers more for less. I guarantee it. Save-On Foods, simply the best. Boy, these are delicious.
Magic Bag is a therapeutic product designed to relieve pain as well as bring you comfort and relaxation. Magic Bag is refrigerated in the freezer or heated in the microwave or conventional oven. Magic Bag is made from 100% natural elements and is applied directly onto skin. Useful to everyone, Magic Bag is an original gift idea for any occasion. Ask for the one and only Magic Bag, available in 2 sizes at all fine pharmacies.
Healthy living. There's nothing more important to you and the ones you love. But annoying muscle and joint pain can often take away some of life's special moments. So reach for nature's pain reliever, the original therapeutic Sand Soother. The Sand Soother is a revolutionary pain relief pack that uses the healing qualities of earth sand to soothe away your stress, strain, muscle, and joint pain. Deep penetrating moist heat, comforting dry warmth, or icy cold relief. The Sand Soother is the only pack that gives you all 3 conveniently. Safe, natural, durable, used by respected health and sports professionals everywhere. Don't waste your time with messy gels, awkward heating devices, and expensive pain medication. Treat yourself to the safe, effective pain relief you deserve. Order your Sand Soother today.
To get the original patented Sand Soother, have your Visa or MasterCard ready and call 1-800-263-9993. Only $29.95 plus $3 shipping and handling. Call today.
Not bad, huh?
That was okay. A few weeks ago, we featured a story on the Prince Rupert Rainmakers and their big upset at the BC High School Basketball Championships.
That's right. The year was 1964, and Ken Shields was on that team. He was the man that grabbed the big key rebound in the winning game.
Now, a lot of people know Ken, but not that many know his wife, Kathy, has had an equally illustrious career. Victoria's Kathy and Ken Shields exude basketball from their pores. The sport isn't just a physical act for them, but an intellectual, educational, and sociological one as well. Collectively, they've taken the University of Victoria to 13 men's and women's intercollegiate titles, defeating in the process big schools with much bigger budgets. After 12 years alternately inspiring and terrifying university students, Ken Shields moved on. In 1989, he took over the men's national team from the legendary Jack Donahue. And last year, Kathy was handed the reins of the women's national team. Same sport, same country, but a universe apart in their approach.
He's almost the antithesis of me.
He's driven.
Sometimes I think she's too tolerant.
He could try and encourage a little bit more rather than demand constantly.
She's easygoing, and I'm not.
He's probably the best teacher of the game.
Sharing joys and sorrows is axiomatic in married life. But when disaster strikes one of the Shields, the pain one of them feels for the other is magnified by their shared profession. Such was the case in 1992, when the men's team faced Venezuela in Portland for a certain berth at the Olympics, and lost.
That game was probably the most difficult experience that I've had in my life as a coach. I felt that we had a tremendous book on Venezuela. Venezuela did nothing in the game that we didn't expect them to do. I felt that technically that we were ready to play. And what I didn't sense in hindsight was that I don't know whether our guys were looking past Venezuela, or whether we weren't, whether we thought that because we give the dream team the best run there, that we were automatically going to the Worlds.
Kathy, you were there. In many ways, it must have been almost as tough.
It was one of the most painful experiences I've been through. No control, no involvement, except for to sit and watch.
Kathy, do you remember the first thing you said to him after the game was over?
I remember waiting for him. I can remember it very well, waiting for him to come out from the, he had met with the team and he had to go in and meet with the media. And he came out to see me just in between, and all I can remember doing is giving him a hug. And I can't remember what I said. I just remember giving him the biggest hug I could. Just,
I don't think that that anyone who hasn't been in that situation could even imagine what you go through in those circumstances. They don't pay you, they could pay you $1 million and it doesn't cover the emotional just catharsis that you go through. It was the first time in my life as a coach that we had prepared for something and hadn't been able to get it done. And I mean, it was devastating, to say the least.
Ken, you were hired in 1989. I presume you were part of the decision to move the team from the West Coast to Toronto. Why was that done?
We moved to Toronto last year because the World Championships had been awarded to Toronto. Toronto will host the Worlds this year, in August of this year, and so it only made sense. The World Championship Organizing Committee was graciously giving us resources to help us prepare, and for that we moved to Toronto to train in order to have greater visibility in the Toronto market.
Has it done something for the team being there?
I don't think it's done much for the team in terms of its visibility in Canada. Toronto's a tough market. I mean, you've got the Blue Jays, it's a big league city, and amateur sport dies in the media in Toronto. You get no visibility whatsoever. To get a line in the paper is difficult in the summer. With there's such a heavy focus on professional sport in Toronto that you're just another amateur operation lined up sort of at the whim of the sport writer.
Canada is fixated on NBA franchises in Vancouver and Toronto. Meanwhile, the sport's amateur cousin is hanging on by its toenails. By the '96 Atlanta Games, the national program will have lost 25% of its budget.
I don't think it'll affect us in '96, except that, I mean, there's been cuts all along, and you know, it's going to affect it a little bit. But post '96, when there's a lot of retirements from the senior teams, that's where we're going to really feel it.
I don't share the same view Kathy does. '96 is going to be a problem for men and women on the basketball side if we don't get an infusion of dollars. Without question, it will be a problem.
How is it directly affecting your program now, then?
Well, our program has been buffered by the fact that the World Championship Organizing Committee has been helping us prepare. Take away their support, and we wouldn't have a chance to qualify for the World Championships this year. And take away their support next summer, if we're left on just Sport Canada monies and Basketball Canada's current level of support, we can forget qualifying next year either for the Olympics.
I think we've got to get a lot more self-reliant.
The answer, in my view, in the short run, and it's fortuitous that we're at this stage, is with the NBA franchising. It's sad to say that you have to have 2 franchises in American leagues come into Canada to salvage our sport.
We're going to make the NBA proud.
The one catalyst there is the owner of the Toronto franchise, John Beethoven, has a warm spot in his heart for basketball. He wants his franchise to impact the development of the sport and to help the development of the sport. And hopefully Arthur Griffiths will share in John's passion in that area, and they'll get together and help basketball in the country.
Do you think we'll have the first husband-wife team coaching in the NBA?
I wouldn't be betting on that.
I wouldn't hold your breath on that one.
You never know. I mean, if an opportunity came, it would be great to be considered.
This week, our sound-off panel is a little different. We've got some experts with us in studio. Across from me, Jay Triano, three-time Olympian and coach at Simon Fraser. Mike Hind, who's Executive Director of Basketball BC. And Lars Hansen, one of only 2 players from British Columbia ever to play in the NBA. Of course, the other one was a little far back, eh? 1947?
That's right.
Jay, tell me, do you think the NBA is going to fly in Canada? We don't have a great history of supporting basketball in this country.
No, no, but I sure hope it does. I mean, we have the opportunity to bring a professional team into the city, and Vancouver has supported professional teams before, and I hope that it does. I think it would be great for the community, and I think it would be great for young basketball players to see professionals play on a regular basis.
Lars, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I still haven't seen any lineups. I haven't seen any. I haven't seen what are the name of the teams in Toronto and Vancouver. And I'd give Toronto a 50-50 chance, though Vancouver
that low,
historically, I'd say, hasn't had much luck with professional basketball, at least in the last decade. But being a basketball player, all I can say is that I think it's about 10 years too late.
Mike?
Well, I think it's going to go. I just don't think we've given a real run in Vancouver. We had the WBL or whatever it was called, the 6'4" and under league, and I mean it wasn't well promoted. Now we got the NBA there, and we got all the marketing tool behind it. I think it'll, for the first 3 years anyways, it'll have a good go, and then after that they better start winning.
Well, you know, there's going to be a honeymoon period, obviously, great facility, new sport, and all the rest of it, but, you know, we don't have the college system here, that foundation of support.
I'm not so sure that having the college system in place is where we're going to draw our fans from. The NBA draws from a multitude of different areas. It's so well marketed, it's so well exposed on TV, you're not necessarily going to go after the same people. Families come to games, not necessarily people go to college basketball, so I think the market is there, it's just a matter of tapping it.
I'd like to see the NBA, if they, the first couple of years that they do start up here in Vancouver, contribute something financially to Canada's national program. We're getting news.
Program first.
We're getting news about the World Championships every day, about budgets being cut, and there's not enough money, and how are we going to get our players to the East Coast? Whether you know, they're already impoverished, and now every day it seems that the amateur sport is dying, and I pray that maybe the NBA will spirit some financial support and maybe a bit of the move some fans in that direction as well.
Well, I think having the role models right on site is going to be just huge for the game. Kids will be able to go to a game and see Shaquille and David Robinson, and hopefully some players coming and play for Vancouver live, and they'll become their role models, and kids will grow up wanting to be basketball players as opposed to maybe wanting to be Pavel Bure.
Jay, do you think it's going to make a difference to you as a college coach? It's going to help your game there. I mean, UBC, Simon Fraser draws a little better, but UBC, that nobody goes to those games.
Well, I think it will, and I hope down the road it will. One of the things it's going to do is it's going to put basketball in the sports page every single day. And when that happens, more people will be in tune with basketball, then they'll start following it. Maybe we can't afford to go to the NBA games, and that's one of the questions that's going to determine whether it's going to go or not here. If we expect to charge, you know, $80 a ticket, we're not going. And I'd like to see a pay structure. I'm getting off topic a bit here, but where the top seats and the seats at the very top for kids are like $5, because those are the kids that are going to see the game, and those are the kids that when they grow up, you want them supporting the team. So,
well, you just want to be able to afford to go to the games. What is $5?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I'll be sitting up on the top with my kids.
Alvin's got the easy job. All the pressure's on me. We don't go to commercial break until I hit this shot. Coming to a store near you soon, Air McDonald's. We're back after the break.